What is up, my fellow munchies? It's your boy Mo here, and today, well actually, I did throw up a poll for you guys to see which recipe y'all wanted me to do between baklava and Josh Weissman's muffaletta bread, and actually between Facebook and Instagram it came out to a tie. So guess what? Y'all get the best of both worlds. But today we're doing baklava. So let's see what we're about to get into, shall we? Baklava, aka baklava, as many of you will call it, is a wonderful dessert that you see at most Middle Eastern restaurants. Everybody has their own recipe, but guess what, guys? I'm about to let y'all in on a little secret. We're about to make the best batch y'all ever had. Not even gonna lie. It's gonna have crispiness, a chewy, beautiful center, and just like a nice, simple syrup touch with some bougie garnish. So let's see what's involved in this, shall we? So what we're gonna need for baklava: phyllo dough, sugar, butter, walnuts, unsalted pistachios, cinnamon, and Ga-tir, aka our simple syrup. We have about 1.5 sticks of butter here, and we're about to go and melt it before we start anything else. Alright, so we first started off by melting only half of the stick of butter. This is gonna be utilized in the filling. So we got the half a stick, and now, first up, 3 cups of unsalted pistachios. I didn't drop any, I swear.
A lie detector test determined that was a lie.
3 cups of unsalted walnuts. Next up, our half a stick of butter. Just pour that sucker in there. Oh yeah. We're gonna start off with half a cup of sugar. Just make sure that this is just gonna be your base. If you do prefer it sweeter, add some more sugar. But this is generally what we use, and we're gonna taste it after we finish this, just to ensure that it's the correct sweetness. Last but not least, 1/4 cup of cinnamon. Ooh, y'all know how I like my cinnamon.
I don't know.
We got everything, now it's time to mix it up. All right, so we had it going for a couple seconds, but you do want to keep in mind that you want to kind of grind up your chunks sort of fine, but you don't want to make it a paste. And this is going to play a crucial part when you're layering your baklava, because if it's too fine of a paste, you're not really going to have that textural difference as you take that bite. But if it's too big, bro, your lasagna, your baklava, all kinds of funky, and we don't want that. So we're going to pulse it, do the pulse dance. Right at this part, you want to kind of check it. And this is where we do kind of our first taste test. Got our spoon. And you're just going to kind of go through it and make sure that everything is kind of getting mixed in together correctly. This is just the first step. This isn't the final product. And we're just going to do a little taste test. Oh yeah, perfect. All right, guys, just remember, if you do have anybody else in the kitchen, don't let them eat this like a bowl of cereal, because it will happen. All right, as y'all see right here, this is like the perfect consistency. You just want the majority of it to be small so it can kind of cohesively go in its place as the best dessert lasagna. All right, guys, so FYI, we do have the phyllo dough out here under a damp rag so it doesn't get dried out. We have our half sheet pan. We have our melted butter and our filling. But first, I'm not really the best at cutting stuff into lines and making sure everything is perfect, so I have just the person.
What I do, baby boo?
What it do, baby?
This is gonna sound really confusing, but you cannot over butter and you cannot under butter, so it has to be just right. So you're just gonna want to start off with a clean baking pan, baking sheet, cookie sheet, whatever floats your boat, whatever you want to call it, and butter that up. You're gonna want to get the sides and everything in between. Do not be afraid to put butter as liquid balls. But when it comes to the phyllo dough, that's where we're gonna, I guess, take it easy.
So does it matter how much you butter on the pan itself?
On the very bottom, you're gonna want to put as much as possible so it does not stick. Phyllo dough is very thin, so you have a high chance of like burning it and having it stick to the pan, which is not what you want whatsoever. But when it comes to in between like the layers of the phyllo dough, the butter will weigh it down, so it'll leave it heavy and it will not like poof up, if that makes any sense.
So since it has layers, is it like an ogre?
Ogres have layers. Onions have layers. You get it. We both have layers.
I don't know ogre. Back when I was a kid, we didn't have that.
Wow, you had a terrible childhood then.
Yes, yes. All right, so this makes exactly a half sheet. You might end up with something like this, but it's okay. Remember, with all the layers, it'll even out. And then at the very end, you're gonna wanna cut the edges so it makes it look pretty. It's up to you. If you choose to do that, you can totally do that, but if you don't want to, whatever, float your boat again. So it's kind of like an Arabic dessert lasagna, as your friend Mo Munchies has said before.
I'm a genius, I know.
You're gonna be taking butter, phyllo dough, butter, phyllo dough, butter, phyllo dough, until we reach the midpoint of the packet itself, and then that's where we'll add our filling, and then continue to do the same process. Phyllo dough, butter, phyllo dough, butter, phyllo dough, butter, and then once we get to the top layer, add our butter, and then the magic, where we get to cut it.
Also, during this process, you do want to make sure that your oven is preheating at 350 degrees. I'm about to hit you with a little time-lapse action.
Alright, so we've reached our midpoint. This is what
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
this is where we're gonna add our filling. So
Somebody's having trouble speaking.
yeah, I'm not from the country. I'm from New Jersey.
New Jersey's still in the United States. Not like you got your citizenship like yesterday, like me.
Oh my god. You can start off with a spoon. You can use your hands, whatever you like to do. Personally, I like to do small spoon work with it, and then eventually I'll get like I'll do like larger bits and pieces here and there. You can always some people, because they like to use their hand, they'll pack it in as they go. I personally don't like to do that. I want to get like a general kind of like layout, or overall like kind of have it where it's covering majority of the phyllo dough, and then sort of pack it in. But you'll kind of, once you've made this a couple times, you'll get the feeling of how you like to do it. But this is generally what is done.
I mean, I'm gonna be real with y'all. This is how y'all can get practice to cook without using measurements. You know, you're sprinkling spices in and whatnot. This is just a key way to learn how to sprinkle on a plate.
I will say, when Mo Munchies started his channel, or sorry, actually not the channel, when he started doing more of food at home, and he would always ask for measurements of things, like things that we would normally make, it was the hardest. I don't measure at all. His family doesn't measure, my family doesn't measure, so like it was difficult.
And this is why I'm also not a good baker, because that requires measurements. It definitely takes me a long time to learn like a baking dish, because I'm so used to not using measurement. This has been a challenge, but we're doing it for you.
Okay, so you basically just want to kind of like find and fill in your little holes. You'll probably have leftover filling, but you can always freeze that, use it for something else.
Y'all know after we wash them hands what it's time for, huh? Time lapse!
Alright, so the first layer after the filling might be a little hard, so you might not want to be as like aggressive like how we were in the beginning. So just take your little brush and kind of just like drizzle it on the phyllo dough. Try and get it like evenly spread out. Alright, so this was the final layer. I personally don't like to have these edges around, so we're gonna have your boy Mo Munchies cut the edges. That's usually the only thing he can do around here.
Bro, I'm actually useful.
And then we'll show you guys how to do the diagonal cut.
Put me in, coach. Alright, let me just show you all my expertise skills. So first, you gotta hit your dagger like this, like it's a sword. And then you're just gonna make us, like, this is gonna be a pain at first.
Oh, do you want the X-Acto knife?
No. So then you're gonna take it and you're just gonna cut down the sides, but you wanna hold over there at the very corner. Whoa. So once you get a little too far, come over halfway point. And then the hardest part is gonna be the corner. But you do wanna make sure that you get it. I know I'm not doing anything safe right now. And watch this. All this comes up like magic. All right, Chef of Snacks, you're gonna take over from here.
All right, so there's several different cuts or techniques. My mom used to always do the diagonal cut, so it'll be straight lines and then you'll do it diagonally. There's some people who are extremely skilled and they do a very fancy design. I can't do that. You can also just do it in squares. Yes, yes. You got something to say?
And she makes fun of me because I'm basic.
Whatever. Diagonal is an advanced technique, okay? You can make in squares, so it'll basically just be like down one way, down the other way across. So yeah, let's just get started with the diagonal. So you don't want to make them super big, and also you don't make them super small. So it'll kind of be like a little bit like this, so about 3 finger lengths. 3 finger widths, if that makes any sense. We can't use Mo Munchies because you got some thick ass fingers. Snicker fingers.
Bro, my fingers are thick. Don't be hating.
They're Snickers.
They're definitely not. Let's take a look, guys. What do y'all think? I mean, I got some pretty good looking fingers. They look like ogre hands, but it's all right.
Okay, so it's not exactly even, but it's okay. The edge piece will be mine, I like the edges. So for a diagonal, just turn your tray. You can start from either side. So the trick is, you don't want to get like a weird kind of shape, if that makes, I guess, any sense. You'll start off with this little corner, and you're gonna want to take the knife and go knead it all the way down to this little bit right here, this corner, and you'll keep doing it. Sometimes you'll end up with not like the actual diamond shape, but that's okay. But I'll show you guys like what I do to kind of get them all sort of either diamond or like a little bit squared off shape. So it's kind of like this.
Some of these aren't gonna look Instagram worthy, but it's all right, guys. Y'all got a whole tray to work with.
So you see that this is the diamond shape that we're looking for. It's a little bit big, but it's okay. And this is like the pieces that I'm talking about that you'll have that aren't exactly diamond shape, but it's not those like little bits. Like if I was to cut all the way through with all these, you'd have a bunch of like little bits that aren't really gonna do you anything, and it's kind of like almost a waste.
Yeah, you just give those to like the little kids or some peasants, whatever, it doesn't even matter.
Oh my God. Okay, so as you see here, they're not even, it's absolutely okay.
All right, you're gonna put the baklava in the oven for about 25 to 35 minutes, depending on how dark you want the color. Psych! I know y'all all probably wondering, hey Mo, why is this such a small tray? Well, what had happened was, I did kind of forget the baklava in the oven last night, and it did let it cook a little longer than we prefer, which was about 35 minutes instead of the 25, which is why I'm not a master baker. But we went out, got some new materials, threw it all together, and this baked for about 25 minutes. This is the kind of color you're looking for. However, because we screwed this up, I screwed this up, I gotta be a good husband and blame myself. We went out, they didn't have the Ziyad brand, which is the brand that we typically use. They had another brand in the store, and that was the only brand they had, which was a Fillo, which is extra thick. And you can kind of tell in the end process of this, you can almost see every layer together, and it doesn't really stick as well as a normal baklava. But you still get a little bit of crunch. All right, so if you look over here, this is the one that we just baked. This is the 25 minutes that it sat in the oven. That's the perfect time to get a perfect looking baklava, Instagram worthy. However, we kind of wish that we had the Ziyad brand for this. The one over here, however, that's the one that was left in the oven for 35 minutes, so that's a little on the darker side. So it all depends on what your preference is. And that concludes another episode of Cooking with Mo Munchies. Throw up a like, smash that subscribe, tap that bell. Whatever you do will really help my channel grow. And as always, until next time. Munch on.